My name's Emma Webster. I'm an artist here in Los Angeles. My work uses sculpture to refashion landscape painting. My paintings begin with dioramas that I build in the computer and think through space in that way, and then I paint. Landscape painting has been dictated by the sun. It struck me as an avenue that was just ripe for a reinvention, in the sense that space has always been confined to the spaces that we can observe in our universe around us. And now with these new technologies, with these new ways of sculpting, it feels like we can bring strategies, say from theater, scenography, to landscape painting. And so one of the things that I've been most interested in is creating spaces using artificial lights, using various foliage that maybe wouldn't happen in the real world. And in that way, it brings as a sort of sci-fi element to the natural foliage, but with a kind of real physics. These are landscapes that play by our physics. The light is real. We see reflected light, lots of, nuanced reflected colors, but the scenes are totally hypothetical and fictitious. So I'll start off with a really rough line drawing, and then we'll make sculptures either in clay or with an Oculus, and then light them and create paintings from these artificial worlds. These terms, these binaries, natural, unnatural, artificial, real, are fascinating, and I think that they're becoming increasingly difficult to define. Even when you consider these tech files, these digital files, which are real, but they're only real in the computer. I think it's asking us to have a sense of reality beyond our physics. We need to suddenly be able to think of more things in terms of almost esoteric definitions, instead of as things that we can touch and hold and see. But in my case, there's something even stranger, because I'm creating the worlds. These are landscapes that most people do not have access to and will never have access to. The only way that they can enter the landscape is through this image, this relic of it. And that I think is what makes them kind of interesting, is they are both real and not real places. There's a really sweet spot when we talk about science fiction where we need to be able to recognize the world in order to contend with it, but there needs to be a little bit of something wonky and uncanny. And the way that I think about science fiction in my paintings is that each of the actors, the agents, the trees, the animals, they almost look like our world, but they're slightly different. And in those glitches, I think it asks us to really contend with what we see as real and what isn't real. And that slippage is something that I find very, very interesting when we're in this time where so much of what technology has been used for has been to kind of exploit that in-between zone. Technology is trying to mask its fakeness and really have us adopt it at first sight. And so in the landscapes that I create, it's important that there is a certain element of believability, but at the same time, the natural elements maybe don't have the same functions that they would in reality. When I move from 2D to 3D, I don't so much think of it as a medium switch as a resolution switch. That this is an opportunity when I make the move into volume, it's a way of actually creating more data points. It's like the mesh becomes more and more refined, and that move from making something that seems so hypothetical and such an abstract schema to actually begin to pin it down and make it flesh and blood. So it's almost like a spiritual experience, but then it's like you want to hide it and keep it mysterious. And so I feel that this last step of making it a painting again is a very important thing, because you get to take all of the sort of discoveries, the realities that happen by creating that resolution, and just instead plot people into the finished product instead of showing people how you got there. I think that is one of the most engaging things you can do, because people approach it with kind of a sense of wonder, like, how? How did this happen? How did we land up in this kind of confident new world.